You know that moment at a wedding when the best man gets up to speak, he picks up the mic, and all you hear is that high-pitched scream, shortly followed by someone rushing to turn the volume down. Well, that high-pitched shriek, that's feedback, and this month's Do Radio song is all about feedback. Not just the audio kind, though there's plenty of that in this track, but the human kind. Hello, I'm John Kay, the presenter of the technology show Tomorrow's World on Do Radio. Now, we've been on air for about 10 weeks now, and we've been sharing conversations, ideas, stories, and importantly, we've been getting feedback. Now, some of it has been amazing, honestly, kind of overwhelmingly kind, which is fantastic. And some of it has been, let's call it constructive. That's a good thing. We need it because without feedback from you, the listeners, we'd have no idea whether we're hitting the right emotional notes, whether we're actually connecting with you and what we're doing is frankly worth doing. Anyway, that's what gave me the idea to do a song about feedback, about what happens when you lose control in the best possible way. So I started with this simple idea. Take a sound, any sound, frankly, and feed it back into itself. I mean, that's literally what feedback is. And when you do that, what comes out, well, you don't really know because you totally lose control. So rather than playing notes on a keyboard where I know exactly what the pitch and the timing is, when you feed that same sound back into itself, you literally can't control the pitch, the volume, or frankly, anything else. And sometimes it's harsh, sometimes it's frankly unbearable, and sometimes it's strangely beautiful. So I sat at my desk, my workstation, my music studio for about half an hour just playing with these sounds, and to be honest, they weren't pleasant. At points they were just noise, to be honest. In fact, why don't I just see if I can find you some of those early recordings to show you what I mean. So this blue track here is just a long, like literally half an hour of recording, and it's kind of just, let me flick through. So you won't, what I actually input into this sounded pretty good, and this is what came out. See, some of that is quite nice. Okay, you get the point. It doesn't sound great, okay, but if you go through that long enough and process it, in between the chaos, there were some moments that actually I really liked. Moments when something happened that sounded like alive. It sounds like it's breathing and moving. Those were the moments I wanted to try and capture. It's something unpredictable but emotional, and that's when I knew that feeling of being slightly out of control was exactly what I wanted to capture for this month's song. So once I had that raw kind of chaos, I chopped it up, I added some effects, I layered it, I kind of moved it around in the stereo field so that it felt, yes, it was unstable, but it formed the bedrock of the song. And I'll just show you what it sounded like once I'd played with it for a bit, just so you can see where we've got to, I guess. So it now sounds something a bit like this. Oh, so I can't hear it. Okay, so it still sounds messy and imperfect, and there's things that sound a little bit like a helicopter. There's those little kind of sprinkles. And you know, frankly, messy's kind of the point, right? Because life is messy. And feedback, whether it's from a synth or from humans, it's rarely comfortable, right? But it's often in those uncomfortable moments that we move forward, that we learn things about ourselves. Now, obviously, that sound alone couldn't carry the whole track. There's not enough to it. It's too kind of unstable, too raw. So I decided to ground it with something really solid. I went to my go-to, like a piano, and I picked just three notes, the same rhythm over and over again to ground out that kind of noise. And that's what this sounds like. Just three notes over and over again. On its own, potentially boring, but I needed something stable to ground out that kind of chaos. So that tiny pattern, that became my anchor, the stable rhythm sitting on top of something that's constantly shifting underneath. frankly, a bit like life. Like we all have this surface layer where everything looks calm, but underneath everything is total chaos. So that's when I set myself another challenge for this month's track. Now, could I make this track feel alive, have energy, tension and movement without using any drums? Now, normally, drums for me do all the heavy lifting in a track. They give you the pulse, the direction, the drive. So taking them away felt like removing the engine from a car and still expecting it to move. But I wanted to see if I could make it work anyway, to create enough emotion and momentum through texture and contrast rather than rhythm. So instead of percussion, I started layering subtle shifts, small bursts of energy, tiny sonic events, a few little piano bits on top of the bass piano to make the track feel like it was breathing. And sometimes it's those quiet changes that make you lean in the most and really listen to something carefully. And I love this extra layer of piano I added. This is what that sounds like. The extra layer of piano, it's not much, but it just changes everything. Listen to this. Just five notes, just layered on top, and they just come in occasionally. You can see maybe it's this kind of orangey colour throughout the track. Anyway, that really brought it to life for me. And then obviously came the human element, the voices that you can hear in the track. They are from our guests in November. I wove them in. There are lots of echoes, whispers. Some of them are quite quiet, fragments almost of sentences. They're not really lyrics. They're sort of part of the whole atmosphere of the track. And if you can't hear exactly what they're saying, then sometimes that's kind of the point. It's like they're speaking through the sound, not over it. So Feedback, the name of this month's track, it's a song about connection. It's about a connection between me and you, between sound and silence, between control and chaos. It's about learning to listen, not just to what's easy, but to what challenges you. Because for me, real creativity, real growth, it happens in that kind of fragile space where you don't quite know what's going to happen next. And that's where I want to stay, just on that edge. Right, so now I'm going to play you the full track. It's also up now on Bandcamp. Link is in the description. Give it a listen. And of course, let me know what you think. After all, it's called Feedback for a reason. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next month.
You are not walking alone.
We leave. We sacrifice. We chase dreams that take us far from home, from the people we love.
I was hanging on by my fingertips financially to make things happen.
What we're going to call intuition right now?
Possible. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
You know, men aren't allowed to cry. And I had no idea of any of that stuff. We were winging it.
To us, it is risky.
Where's the art conversation gone? And so we're like, love to have a chat. The in-depth relationships that actually really matter.
We're role models as parents.
Don't always wait until there is a really tragic event. She's singing it right back to you.
Check this out.
And it wasn't words, it was art.
I was very self-conscious.
really loved me, and I felt that.
Whenever I need to feel happy about myself.
It's still very hard to absorb the lessons that life gives you.
I don't think it has anything to do with where you are on the journey.
And replacing human jobs.
It's an abomination.
To give you the passion to then hopefully do something of meaning in the world.
To be successful at anything is to fail over and 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 over.
What you really know.
Do something of meaning in the world.